This video is for the 12 to work together. So it says determine the federal income tax that must be withheld for each employee. Use the tax withholding tables in lesson 12.2 of your textbook. Calculate the amount of Social Security tax and Medicare tax that must be withheld for each employee. Use a Social Security tax rate of 6.2% and a Medicare tax rate of 1.45%. None of the employees have accumulated earnings greater than the tax base. Round dollars to the nearest cent. So you will need to look at the tax withholding tables. I just opened up my book over here on the right. So to do that, I just click on full book. And then the easiest thing that I think is to just go up here. TOC stands for table of contents. I'm going to scroll down to chapter 12. I'm going to go to 12.2, and then I know that I'm going to be looking at these two things. My employees' income tax withholding single and married. So I'm just going to click on that, and there we go. You can click on the little plus sign too to get an enlarged version of that too. Okay, so let's go ahead. I think what I'll actually do is do the single first, just so that I don't have to click back and forth from those two different ones. So let's look at Janice first, because Janice is our first single. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at the marital status to figure out that. So when I look at that single, that tells me I need to look at this table. And then I'm going to next look at her total earnings. So her total earnings are $980. So I need to find where that falls on this table. So when I look, I see this one here says at least 980, but less than 1,000. So that's where the row that she's going to fit into. And then I'm going to look at her number of withholding allowances. So she has one withholding allowance. So here's going to be her row that she's on, and then here's her column of one withholding. Okay, so I'm seeing that as $79 for her federal income tax withholding. Okay, then I'm going to go to the next single one so I can just stay on the same table. So that's going to be this Anthony Simpson. And Anthony, I'm going to find his amount first. So 1,125. So I'm going to put that on here. So when I look, that's going to fall here. So he makes at least 1,120, but it's less than 1,140. So I'm going to be looking at this row. And then I see that he has two withholding. So I'm going to go over to the two column, and it looks like I'm going to withhold $77 in federal income tax. Okay, so I'm going to close this one. Oops. I was wondering if that was going to happen. So I need to go back into, and this time I'm going to look at married. Okay, so when I look at my married, my first one is John. John made 1,360, so I'm going to find where that is. Here I'm seeing 1,360 at least, but less than 1,380, so he's going to be in this row, and he has two allowances. So I'm going to go over to those two allowances column, and so I'm looking at $52 for his federal income tax. Next one I see is Terry. Terry is 1,510, so I'm going to find where Terry falls. I would say right here, at least 1,500, but less than 1,520. So here's my row that I'm on, and Terry has three withholdings. So scroll over, make sure that I'm on the right correct row, and so that's going to be 50 for the federal income tax withholding. Okay, so I'm done with this, so I'm going to actually just close that. And now I'm going to look at my Social Security tax. So they do tell me my rate up here in my direction. So my rate is 6.2% for that Social Security tax. So I'm going to take earnings times 6.2%. Oops. Okay, so I get 84.32. Same thing for the next one, 980 times 6.2%, 60.76, 1510 times 6.2%, 93.62. And the last one, 1,125 times 6.2%, and 69.75. Okay, next I'm going to figure out my Medicare withholding. So in the directions, it tells me Medicare tax is going to be 1.45%. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take total earnings times that tax rate. I can type in my calculator. Okay, so first one I get 19.72. Next I get 14.21. Next I'm going to have to round on this one, so I get 21.90. So when I put that into the calculator, I actually get 21.895. I would round up to 0.90. And then last one, again, I'm going to have to round for this one, so I get 16.31. This one I would round down. So there I have all of my withholdings. Now, one thing I just want to point out is it does talk about none of the employees have accumulated earnings greater than the tax base. We will have to deal with that in the future. It's just now what they're saying is that we don't have to worry about a tax base, but we will look at that in the future. I am going to say check answer first. Everything looks good. So save and continue. You can now do the 12-2 on your own.